この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Now hear me out. The sequel trilogy is actually better than the original. He goes to way more places, deals way less kids, and the events are more interesting in general. But without getting ahead of myself, let's see what goes down just after 10 years since the adventures in the land. He kidnapped his ex-wife and is feeding her his own blood. Let me explain. Or rather, let him explain. So Joan's mental health has been deteriorating rapidly, making her act all possessed, but instead of putting her into an institution full of scary experiments, Thomas decides to take care of Joan himself, chaining her to his bed frame because of her bloodlust. Even his new doctor just buys on Thomas after seeing him do all this, and have a shootout in his home with cultists, rather than, well, putting him in an institution, really. Joan gets kidnapped by cultists this time, and forces Thomas to come with them unarmed. Linden tails Covenant to the middle of the woods and tries to stop all this by yelling that the cops are here as a bluff, leaving only one cultist behind who starts swinging. Linden tries to fight for Thomas but gets knocked over and hits her head, and Thomas hits his chest to the knife, and you can probably guess what happens next. Yeah, let's get it out of the way. He goes to the land again, hearing Fowl's voice and all. So he's back just like how Thomas predicted. This time Linden is there too with him on Kevin's watch, and the stab wound is gone, so he starts explaining how the land is a dream and all that. This means we finally get to know if the land is really just a dream once they wake up. They start towards the good old village nearby he's been so many times to, under the weird new blue sun. Then, a hermit guru who saw Thomas returning in a vision appears and starts slurring all the exposition about how everything has gone to shit in the past 3,000 years, and they need to find his son in the town for help. The guy then almost immediately gets assassinated, and our mains get imprisoned by none other than the very guy they were supposed to find. Thomas starts asking what is going on in the world for it to be like this, and Sunder tells that
the Clave, previously High Lords, need regular sacrifices from villages in order to use powerful enough blood magic to stop the world from dying to Fowl's
super corrupted son. So to escape from being sacrificed, Thomas tries to change Sunder's mind and tells him to touch Thomas's forehead with a sunstone he saw him wielding before, a totally different magic rock from the emerald that Thomas destroyed. This works as a trigger, just like hitting him with other magic items before, and makes the wild magic inside him surge all over, and Sunder is quickly convinced that Thomas has protag gun powers and agrees to help them escape. Under the now brown sun, the party starts heading towards Revelstone, but wait, oh no! Thomas realizes the villagers are going to sacrifice each other now that they are not there to be sacrificed, so he turns around and tries to save them, and his friends have no chance but reluctantly follow him so he doesn't get himself killed. But of course he's too weak and slow to make it in time, sees the Sunbane corrupt the villager into a snake horror, gets bitten, poisoned, and almost killed. He then passes out from the poison, so he has to be carried everywhere. How this differs from normal Thomas is beyond me. Eventually, the poison subsides, but Covenant immediately gets stung by some raver bees and the venom inside relapses him into a coma once more. Tracking along, they come across another small village where one of those Clave members happen to be, trying to take one of the villages for their quota. But Covenant suddenly bursts out into the scene and blasts everyone with his wild magic in his fever hallucinations, and then falls unconscious again. Linden and Sunder then pick up Thomas and the villager that was going to be sacrificed and flee the scene towards Andalane. a place in their path that is supposedly the last place not influenced by the Sunbane. Maybe they could even heal Covenant. Sailing along the long river, Thomas gets accidentally dropped into the water a couple of times and sleeps for a couple of days. And once they get near the magic forest, Thomas wakes up and jumps off the raft. He just couldn't wait to get ashore and swims like he was miraculously cured or something. Although he wasn't. Sander and Holian, however, don't want to enter the forest because how alien it looks, and they've been told all these legends how the forest makes people mad, making Linden also stay behind. Covenant gets some boons from his old friend's ghost. Troy, who is still a forest spirit, hides some information into his brain that would be really good to know now, and Foam Follower gives him an indestructible golem who will grant Thomas one wish, so he better use it carefully. Gee, we know how those turn out. When returning and when following him, Thomas notices his friends are gone, and it doesn't take long till he is captured too, by yet another nearby village doing sacrifices for the Clave. Thomas then doesn't know what else to do but to cash in his only wish right fucking away and commands Wayne to save him. No beating the Clave, not some epic final clutch act, and I must appreciate how Donaldson had the balls to write it like this. They escape and head towards Revelstone again because Thomas suspects all the answers lay there, including his friends. But he doesn't get to travel for long though. He approaches another Sunbane horror who shows Thomas his hands only to reveal a hairy fucking disgusting spider, which jumps on his neck and immediately bites Thomas, sending him into a fucking coma yet again. Like, what the fuck, is Thomas an idiot? This is so stupid, it still makes me grin. He gets saved by a random bystander though, and his goblins who give Thomas temporary power by blood transfusion, and surging into action, Thomas runs 500 kilometers in 48 hours with no breaks, which sounds crazy fast, but it's like 20 kilometers an hour, which, don't get me wrong, is impressive, but the way it's described made it sound like constant inhumane speed. He comes across one of those Clave members, but she's not hostile and even invites him to talk things over since Thomas claims not to be evil despite their legends. Although still suspicious, Thomas goes with her because being violent now would only close the door on having allies, and he wants to start asking questions at the very least. He goes inside Revelstone to see things like the Bane Fire that keeps the sun from destroying everything, and discussing how to use the ring to amplify the fire with their leader. Then out of nowhere, Wayne dashes off to find pieces of the Staff of Law, and before Thomas gets to think what's going on, his mission marker runs away again, this time into a dungeon where he sees a bunch of imprisoned Harujai. And while Gibbon is explaining that they went feral until the Sunbane, Memla barges in and yells how she's been deceived all this time. Thomas then slowly starts putting two and two together on how the hell he fell for this obvious of a trap. And now he has to suffer the dreaded 3,000-year flashback sequence. After some forced exposition, Thomas figures out that he needs to remake the Staff of Law to stop Foul, who actually summoned him in order to use the White Gold Ring's magic to destroy the fabric of reality in order to escape from this mortal prison he was put in by God. Covenant then blasts everyone in the room with his wild magic, steals the magic dagger, and escapes with his friends, the Harujai and Memla. The rest of the Clave, however, casts a thing called the Grim after them, a cloud of soot that burns anything it touches into ash. And when it starts raining on them, Thomas again just stands there and watches it all happen and needs to be saved multiple times. And no, not even because he was incapacitated by the poison or anything. He's just molding that the poison is making him unable to control the wild magic, becoming too volatile to use safely. Memla has to sacrifice herself for the rest to get away, and Linden starts rolling sanity under the different colored suns. Getting farther away from Revelstone, they notice that the sunbane is actually receding, because it turns out it's not that the sun is corrupted, but the air itself around the upper lands that changes incoming light itself. When they finally get to the lower lands, they meet another party, full of giants walking the road uphill with their feet. These giants have come from across the sea to find out why everything is dying, including their own, and Thomas briefs them all about their quest to find the new Staff of Law. The giants only know that there are these ancient beings on an island who know pretty much everything, and after some convincing they join forces and head back to their boat. They arrive at the shore, leaving Sander and Holian behind to spread the word that Covenant is actually the good guy by using the dagger's magic as proof that they don't need blood rituals anymore, and the rest jump aboard the Soaring Phallus. Can you believe it? A book that didn't end up with them going back to the real world? So, yeah, you're going to get cock and ball tortured for a whole second book before getting answers, if Linder is actually in the land with him. And I know I keep saying this, but what Thomas does next is such a fucking sanity roll. It's almost as unbelievable as the start of the first book.